Yeah, Rev Skipp Jennings, welcome back to the Stephen Shields radio show. I completed your course on Insight Time of Spirituality during challenging times. Sydney, Australia's in a second full lockdown at the moment.
Yes.
People are pissed off at our Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, about it. I'm not very happy. We are going through challenging times, but I'm so thankful for Insight Timer, Rev, because it's really helped me through this pandemic. And yesterday I was listening to Earl Nightingale, The Stranger's Secret, rereading Think and Grow Rich again by Napoleon Hill. How's things with you going?
It's good. One of the things that I'm always aware of, that we are getting stronger through our challenges. So in this time that we're all experiencing challenges through the pandemic or through loss of a loved one, we are all getting stronger. But it's hard to see in the midst of the challenge. I talk about this. It's learning to keep our faith and keep our vibration lifted. So we have Insight Time, or we have books to read, or we have guided meditations to listen to. One of the things that I'm watching closely right now is Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And just the unrest there, and because of the earthquake, thousands of people have lost their lives. And then we look at Afghanistan as the Americans are evacuating and leaving. So as a minister, we're called to pray when we see distress in the world. So got to tell you, prayer time has been extra charged this past year and a half.
Now, I wanted to ask you, you're a minister, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Is this the signs of the second coming of Jesus Christ?
Well, okay, so we go really deep, and that could take up a whole half an hour of what I truly believe, but I'll give you the clip notes. So I believe, because I read the Bible, and I learn lessons from the Bible. I believe that there are some things that are prolific in the Bible. There's some prophecies that we've seen. I also believe that there are lessons for us to learn. I don't take on every part of the Bible as being so literal, but I'm sure there are literal experiences that were passed down. I believe that John had some type of a prophecy. Now, if you have someone back during the times of Jesus and they had a prophecy of this time, it would appear to them to be the end of the world. So when John is seeing, wars and famines and disease and all these things happening, his conclusion was, this is the end, and this is where our Savior, Jesus Christ, will return. I believe that, the spirit of the Christ consciousness, which I believe in, I believe in the teachings of Jesus. I believe that the Christ consciousness is already here. We're one in God, but we're learning how to connect with that energy. I don't believe this is the second coming. I believe the second coming has happened. I believe this energy of the Christ God. I believe you and I are the second comings of the Christ. We are here to be the Christ lovers. We are on a Christed journey where we're here to be of service, and we're here to share the light with a world that's obviously hurting right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we got pandemic as well. There's all this shit going on with Joe Biden now, and political drama and war. That's just my conspiracy theory too.
Yeah, and you know what? They've always been these things that have happened. But what's different? We have the internet. We have instantaneous information coming down through our phones, through TV, through our computers. So we are getting bombarded by this information on this mass level in such rapid time. So Biden says something, it goes out, and it's news. It's at 9 breaking news. Biden says this. I believe that when we choose to look at politics, and we choose to look at the roots of politics, it was really made to separate us. Partisanship means to separate. Partisan means to be a part of. And so when we are looking at politics, we have to understand the low vibrational frequency that it's operating in. I don't believe in a duality. I believe in a polarity. There's a low frequency energy. There's a high frequency energy. And I believe the politics and what politicians do, they really breed on the lower vibrational energy. It keeps us, it scares us, and then we are glued to it. We become addicted to it. And our work is for us to begin to really look at this as what it is. It's low frequency, but we must rise up. So we must take a fast from watching TV. We must take the time from getting off of social media, getting off of our computers, having a fast from the media, because it operates very low frequency. If you look at TV, you look at the news, they will report what is bad or what's challenging in the world, and then right after that you see a commercial here in America for antidepressants.
The same thing.
You wonder why we're depressed, and then they want to sell us the antidepressant because we've been watching the news way too much.
Same thing in Australia, pharmaceutical ads. I switched the TV off. I wanted to ask about antidepressants, Rev, because I'm on antidepressants myself, but not a very high dose. But I make sure I keep fit and healthy, and I meditate, do my yoga, get outside in nature. Yeah, I think antidepressants can have a negative side effect to people too.
Well, I think any meds do that. And listen, and all your listeners and everyone's listening to this, you got to consult your doctors. I'm not a doctor, I'm a minister. And if you've been prescribed, you stay with the protocol with your doctor until you feel that you've had enough. But I believe that either if you're on an antidepressant or not, you must do all the things that you just said. We get up and do yoga. We do the meditation. It calms us. It shifts and lifts our energy and vibration. But we do all the things of eating healthy foods and drinking lots of water and getting outside. We have to take responsibility for our own vibration, and yes, the meds help, but we have to actively go after the practices that inspire us, that lifts us up, that takes us out of out of the cycle of despair. We have control to move out of that cycle and choose other practices.
Exactly. Keep listening to Napoleon Hill as well.
Yeah.
And Zig Ziglar. I was listening to Zig Ziglar yesterday on Audible. Very interesting man, Zig Ziglar was.
Yeah, very much so. I have not followed his writings, and I can't really speak to Zig, but, all these avatars that came before, all these teachers that came before, you can find something within their books that's going to help you to elevate today. Their writings are timeless. In the tradition of spirituality I am a minister in, we call it new thoughts, ancient wisdom. So this wisdom of our connection, of taking responsibility for our life, of our spiritual growth, our oneness with the universe, all this is ancient. We are now presenting it in a new way, so we call it new thought, ageless or ancient wisdom.
Did you know Jesus did meditation too?
Yeah, Jesus did yoga. I have a book called the Yoga of Jesus. There's a time, and it's believed at the time that there's a lot of time from his birth to his death, there's a missing time there. We know that his family fled from Israel, fled from his homeland, and went to a foreign land. We believe that it was, some teachings believe that he went to India and he studied with the mystics, because Jesus, the Christ, was a mystic. So during that time, it's believed that he was developing his mysticism, and part of mysticism is the practice of yoga. And it can be, it's so much deeper than that, but there was a time that Jesus the Christ was actually developing his himself, his spiritual growth to prepare what he was called to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Bible doesn't talk about that, Rev. There was a lot of things the Bible missed out on. I mean, you got the Catholic Bible, they got the Book of Maccabees as well, but if you read the Old Testament, it's just about all violence and war and corruption is how I've read the whole Bible. That's what, and
Yeah.
the Old
And
Testament just
those
made...
who wrote the Bible,
Yeah.
those who wrote the Bible and those who passed down these stories, you got to remember, this was their perception of their relationship with God.
Mm.
So these stories that come down, it's being passed down in a way. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament, you think that we had a God who with an anger management problem. And I remember my teacher, Michael Beckwith, once said but we can pull from the story because there are stories of triumphs. Mm. There are stories of people who overcame their adversities, who did not give up, who believed in God, who loves God. Mm-hmm. If you go to the New Testament, there are so many missing books out of the New Testament. Mm. The Gospel, there are more than 4 Gospels. Mm. There are the Gospels we call the Gnostic Gospels. Mm-hmm. So you have the Book of Thomas, the Book of Mary. You have all these other books that really show Christ or show Jesus the Christ on a human level. The 4 books that were chosen by Constantine, that was the emperor and the Caesar at the time, chose certain books to keep Christians in line when they were creating the Bible, because the Christians were rising up. So, these stories of the books that were chosen and how the Bible would be constructed came out of trying to control people.
Mm. Yeah, because when you read the Old Testament, I found it just put me in a low vibration, Rev. Yeah, because that's all it is. It's just, yeah.
And listen, too, I still get a lot of teachings from the Bible. For me, that works. But I also want to, invite all your listeners to understand the Bible's not the only text for spirituality. Mm. It's only one of thousands of texts. There is, the Quran. I read the Quran. Mm-hmm. I'm not Muslim, but I read the Quran. There is the Tao. There is the Course in Miracles, modern books, Spiritual Liberation, Michael Bernard Beckwith. My book, these are all spiritual texts that were downloaded through me, as me, from the universe. These are the same writings that are coming through a lot of authors today. Marianne Williamson, Iyanla Vanzant, you have Brene Brown. These are books that will change lives, and in the future we'll look back at the Gifts of Imperfection and it'll be, oh my goodness, and it is today known as a spiritual manual of healing yourself. But we'll look at this 100 years from now and going back and going, that's a sacred text.
Exactly. I mean, like, you got the Bhagavad Gita as well, which is
yes,
that's
which is yoga, which is yoga. It comes from the Gita. It comes from the story of the battle of spirit and man, of earth and heaven. It really talked about, and it comes together on the battlefield. But you also have Eckhart Tolle. You have his book, The Power of Now, A New Earth. I mean, there you can go on and on of sacred texts. Howard Thurman, The Journey, for the Journey Within. Another incredible sacred, I read it. And then we have, my favorite is Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind, who was the founder of the Church of Religious Science, which is now Center for Spiritual Living. But he founded a movement called Science of Mind. So if you read a Science of Mind text, that is a Bible for a lot of our New Thought students and people who follow New Thought, the New Thought spiritual practices. Science of Mind is our Bible.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great wisdom and knowledge out there, Rev. There's also, there's the Satanic Bible as well, Anton LaVey wrote, too. There's the Devil's Bible.
I honestly have never read it, and not that I'm in fear of it, but it just never came down to into my consciousness as a book that I am calling for to read. So I'm not familiar with that at all.
Mm-hmm. Also, have you used oracle cards and tarot cards?
I am an oracle and a tarot card reader.
I've tried tarot cards, but they make me feel uncomfortable. They're not for me. How do you feel about them?
I believe that everyone has their own path and finding spirituality. So if tarot cards is not for you, it's not for you.
And oracle as well. They're not for me.
But the thing about oracle cards and tarot cards, understanding we're pulling card from energy that's within us. It's not something outside of ourselves. So if I pull a card and lay it down, I know that is a card within my spirit that's calling me to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our energy and a lot of our perception around tarot cards and around oracle readings have been given to us by Hollywood. We see the gypsies, or we see witches, or we see, these mystical dudes that we don't quite understand, a little bit of weird, and they pull out the tarot cards and we're going, yeah. And so in our subconscious, we have equated tarot with being something wrong. And it's not. It's just another way of connecting with our spirit. Same thing like you mentioned the Satanic Bible. I've never read. But that's how some people are connecting with their spirit. One of the things we get to learn is how do we move through this world and live and let live. If you believe a certain way, I'm going to bless you and support you in your spiritual growth. If I believe one way, cool, I'm hoping that you will do the same for me. Here's where it gets messy. When you believe that your way is the only way to find God and the other way is wrong, that's when trouble hits the fan. That's when the shit hits the fan. Because it's going to be a butting of heads.
Exactly. No, it was a great podcast with you today, Rev. Always good to have you on the show as well.
It's always great. You asked the most incredible questions, and I am just so grateful to be a part of your podcast.
I want to say thank you for your course on Insight Timer and your work as well.
Yes.
I've shared it in my Law of Attraction circle on Insight Timer too. Yeah, it's been really good.
And I need to join your circle. I have a circle too, an Insight Timer.
Yep.
It's called Spiritual Flow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So please join Spiritual Flow. And I have a new course that was just released today. It's a 5-day course, very quick. It's called Meditation 101. It's the basis of meditation. Even if you've been meditating for a while, it's great to go back to where did you begin? We start with the beginner's mind. So it's very quick. It's only about 10 minutes per lesson. There's 5 lessons, and it's just to invite you to go back to the basics of meditation. So day 1, we talk about what meditation is and what meditation is not. Then day 2, we talk about the benefits of meditation. Day 3, we get into the obstacles and blocks that happen before, during, and after meditation. Day 5 is about the different types of meditation that we can explore. And then day 5, we're going to have a contemplative meditation experience. The thing about contemplative meditation, we can contemplate, but we must give room to hear the answer. So we can take a question, we can sit down, and we can think about, is this job right for me?
Exactly.
And we can ask that question and to create space where we can hear the answer, because the answer is already within you, Stephen. The answer is within me, but we're looking for it to be revealed.
Exactly. Yeah, look, thanks for coming on today, Rev.
You're so welcome.